Um, Larry Klein has been Sunnyvale's first directly elected mayor.
In 1971, EPA declared
and has dedicated his life to community service for the last 20 years. Spent his time on the council adding housing and ADUs, completing Sunnyvale's downtown vision, and improving active transportation options and sustainability. During COVID, Mayor Klein has been busy working on the regional pandemic response and recovery, but also visiting and highlighting more than 200 of Sunnyvale's restaurants, food trucks, and markets, with many tales to tell. So hopefully he'll tell a few of them. And then Bailey Hall is an environmental program specialist for the city of Sunnyvale's recycling program, recognized by coworkers as the guru, or actually in human form, a female version of that is gurvi, by the way, G-U-R-V-I, you can look it up, of Sunnyvale's FoodCycle food scrap collection service. So the first FoodCycle gurvi. So Mayor Klein, take it away.
Thank you very much, Dennis. And definitely from my standpoint, the Mayor's Restaurant Project it's become, from my standpoint, the best way to build community during COVID. And from that standpoint, I've been happy to do it. And I have a short presentation. Let me pull that up while we're here. Initially, it started as just a way to highlight that our historic Murphy Avenue was open during shelter in place. The very first day of shelter in place last year was St. Patrick's Day, and Murphy and Sunnyvale was founded by Martin Murphy Jr. We have big Irish St. Patrick's Day celebrations every year, and so it was good. It was a good time to go down at lunchtime and say, yes, our restaurants are still open. There aren't going to be big parties tonight on Murphy Avenue, but support your local businesses. And the response was just so positive, from our residents, from the owners downtown, that I'm like, well, let me post once or twice more just to highlight, what's here in Sunnyvale. And it just took off from there. I was really happy to see, residents being very positive and just being able to highlight some of our multitude of restaurants. And so that's been one of the best things, is publicizing the diversity of restaurants that we have in Sunnyvale. And, our whole Bay Area has that, but most people end up eating at the same 10 to 15 restaurants over and over again when they go out. And so this allowed me a chance to see the variety of food that our city has to offer. And also, food porn. Definitely people love photos of food, and not that I'd ever done that before, but it was good to, do a little research about what the restaurant's specialty is, and then, go and try it. And, and ultimately, just not the benefits of course, tasting the food. It's great to enjoy the food in your city, but then it's also meeting and thanking the owners, the employees, especially for staying open during COVID, because for a lot of them, their staffs had reduced down to just only being the families and maybe a worker or two running the business, trying to make it through the pandemic and getting people to, buy their food. And then the other thing was, it just built community, that I had lots of residents that are following in the mayor's footsteps, telling them what, oh, you need to go try this restaurant. And I found, new favorites. I found restaurants that I had been to for almost 30 years since I moved to the Bay Area that were still open, still serving food. But after you move out of a certain neighborhood, a lot of times you never make it back to that restaurant. And so it was really great to visit some old favorites and, find some new ones from that standpoint. And so lots of great press, Sal Pizarro and several, newspapers have written articles about my project. And from that standpoint, KTVU, so lots of TV and all that also, but it's been, ultimately I've worked with a neighbor to create a whole Eat Sunnyvale website. trying to even make it easier for people to find that 200, to sort it, to find my reviews. But it's, over the shelter in place, it's been almost every other day. And initially it was almost every day for the first 6 months. But at a certain point, it's like, I need to back off of takeout food just a little bit. But it's been just a positive experience as far as, meeting residents, meeting our owner, the owners of different restaurants, the workers, and finally, moving from takeout to eating outside to I ate inside at a restaurant for the first time last Friday. And so, especially as we finally have moved to the yellow tier, things continue to open up and looking for that recovery. So, from my standpoint, visit Sunnyvale. I'm always pushing that, but support your local businesses. Meet the owners, talk to them, because they have stories to tell. And definitely, I always go in and say, what's your favorite, or what are your customers' favorites? Because as opposed to just choosing what I think might be interesting on the menu is always good. But there's a quick overview of food in Sunnyvale, and I'll pass it on to Bailey unless you have a question or two.
Well, I did just have, I'm very curious about this project. And do you know, well, how many places to eat are there in Sunnyvale? I was surprised.
So I think it's on the order of about 300.
Wow.
And so in that, so I'm over 2/3 of the way there, but there's new places that are opening up all the time. So of the over 200 that I went to, I've only had a handful that have closed. And even several of those, it was an owner deciding that they didn't want to be a Mediterranean restaurant. They wanted to be a halal fried chicken place, or it was a boba place that was immediately replaced with another boba place. But we've had, chains open like Dunkin' Donuts. We've had Mountain Mike's have a Mountain View, or have a Sunnyvale presence now. So there are lots of places that are opening up and moving to the city. And, that's good for the environment, good for our economy to a large degree, but good for the variety of food that we have available. And so it really reflects the diversity of our residents too.
Well, great. And last question, you look hale and hearty and healthy. It just seemed like, do you have a program to counter all these lunches?
Actually, yeah. So I've heard, some people have talked about the COVID 2025. I actually lost about 20 pounds during COVID. And that was, and I have actually one more slide on that, so we'll go forward one more. A daily run. So I've been running 2 to 5 miles, and actually long runs on the weekend of 8 or 9 miles. I've done a half marathon during COVID of getting out and getting exercise, and that to me has made a big difference of keeping my weight down and watching what I eat, but intermittent fasting and everything else. But it's enjoying the food, and if you eat out, you really don't. For me now, it's like I eat out one big meal, and then it's kind of snacking in smaller meals. So I've kind of changed, and I've heard that from a lot of people. They've changed their eating habits during COVID, as opposed to kind of 3 meals a day. It's like maybe one kind of more European, one big meal, which would be my takeout meal, and then smaller snacks throughout the day. So all that helps out at the end of the day.
Well, that's great.
But running with the dog help.
Speaking of marathons, this good luck on continuation of the marathon in terms of the restaurant program.
Thank you. It's been really good.
So getting to the other side of food scraps.
Yes, I'm going to talk about what happens to food that is not eaten, food scraps, leftovers that are disregarded. We have a whole program for it. So our program is called FoodCycle. So what is FoodCycle? It's food scrap recycling for all Sunnyvale addresses, residents and businesses, and it accepts all kinds of food. So dairy, meat, pits, peels, bones, even spoiled food or leftovers that you really try to get to, but you just can't. We'll even take tea bags, coffee filters and grounds, and pet food. The big difference is we don't accept paper products in this program, so no napkins, paper towels, or coffee cups, because it's not a compost program. There is a difference, and another time I can get into the difference if anyone wants to know. Why was FoodCycle created? Well, sadly, 40% of the food that is grown in this country is wasted and never eaten. So we wanted to make sure in Sunnyvale we had a place to go for food that wasn't eaten. It is also going to be law. It is currently law, and it will be required starting 2022 for all addresses. And I'll touch on that a little bit later. Most importantly to me, I think it prevents 4,000 tons per year of food going to the landfill. And that's actually just on the residential side. So combined with our all our commercial businesses, it's closer to 7,000 or 8,000 tons per year. And last but certainly not least, when food goes into landfills, it creates methane, which is a super powerful greenhouse gas, and that really speeds up climate change. So this is our way of fighting climate change from basically anywhere. So how it works, pretty simple. Residents and businesses alike, we just ask them to separate their food scraps just like they would with cans or paper in their recycling. We let them collect it in clear plastic bags. All the bags are screened out and put into landfills, so plastic is not getting in the final product. And then just set out their food scrap cart for collection, just like with garbage or recycling. Then food scraps are turned into a mash, and they're pretty versatile, so we can use them in one of three ways. They can either be a fertilizer and a compost amendment that really improves the quality of soil and compost. It can be an FDA approved animal feed ingredient for omnivorous animals like chicken, pigs, and fish. And it can also be electricity through something called anaerobic digestion at power plants or water treatment plants. So as I mentioned, we have food scrap collection for Sunnyvale businesses, and that actually started back in 2011. So we are very ahead of the curve. This is the amount of tonnage that we've collected over the years. We have 52 Sunnyvale restaurants participating right now, and I think that number will, of course, increase as restaurants are opening back up and getting back to a new normal. I'm proud to say that our major businesses here, so Facebook, Google, and LinkedIn, are all fully on board. And of course, if you look at this graph, you'll see that the tonnage went down in 2020. I think we all can correctly guess that that was from COVID, from lots of restaurants closing, temporarily. So we do expect those numbers to climb back up. Of course, we have this FoodCycle program for residents too. So we started that program in 2017. In 2019, we did a really big community survey to check in with residents, see how they like the program, what they think of it, what their barriers and benefits were. So we try to develop our outreach based on those results. And we also recently did a virtual survey in March of this year to, again, check in with residents based on their behavior and opinions. That was our pre-survey, and we're going to do a post-survey later this year to see how effective our outreach was. So we are currently developing, and we'll push out messaging to make this program easier through videos, cart tags, ads, and mailers. So this is the impact, some of the impact of this program that I'm so proud of. You'll see in the top left there, ever since 2017, our residents have recycled 14,000 tons of food scraps. And that's reduced the amount of material that our city sends to a landfill by 18%. That's a very significant number. I'm so proud of it. And on the climate change front, how I said that this is a way to fight climate change from wherever you are, even your kitchen. The FoodCycle program eliminates 2,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide each year, which is the same thing as taking 472 cars off the road annually. So I am extremely proud. There are some program challenges that we've heard from residents and from those surveys. The biggest one is the ick factor. So people are worried about it smelling bad or attracting pests or cleaning out their cart, you know, if it gets kind of messy. The other barrier is simply forgetting or just not feeling like they have time to separate out their food scraps. The other barrier that we've come across is the cart design. So it is a 70-30 split, 70% garbage, 30% food scraps. And we have gotten feedback from residents that they feel the food side is too large and the garbage side is too small now. In 2017, we used the best available design at the time, but we are hearing our residents that that's, you know, they want something different. So we are looking into other options. As for cart manufacturer challenges, we did just want to point out that typically a cart manufacturer will make a new mold if there are 200,000 carts, and in Sunnyvale we have 30,000 of these carts, so there's a slight challenge there, but we're looking into 3D printing and other kind of innovative ideas like that. I mentioned earlier that we did a survey in March of this year and we got really promising results. So we learned from that survey that 79% of residents, at least those that responded, take part in the FoodCycle program, you know, about monthly. 63% do it FoodCycle every single week, which is a fantastic number. That's the best one. And 46% when they do FoodCycle, they put all of their food scraps in the cart, which is wonderful. And we definitely want to send a message to that other 54% to FoodCycle all of their food scraps. So we are currently working on an outreach campaign and our goals are pretty straightforward. We want to increase that weekly participation rate. We want to increase the tonnage we have of food scraps that we get to process and turn away from the landfill. And we want to give very simple how-to instructions that can help people make it a habit and can also reduce that ick factor for them. So again, we want to address concerns about it being messy or icky. We have a new clean cart replacement feature where you can get your cart replaced with a clean cart 2 times per year. We're also putting out outreach to help people remember to separate their food scraps. And we have a new downloadable sign on our website that you can put right next to your sink or the bin. And we have lots of new videos with Sunnyvale residents and city staff. And I actually have, oh, the slide went away. Well, if we have time, I will pull up the video on YouTube because it's a really terrific one. But just in case, I wanted to end the presentation with talking about what's next. So right now, FoodCycle is a program for all our single family homes. In 2022, it's going to be at all our multifamily homes. So all apartments and commercial buildings. So it will increase from 52, 53 restaurants to all those 300. We also have a new law, SB 1383, that is applicable to all of California. It's a little bit different, but still, of course, related to food recovery. It will require 20% of edible food that was previously thrown away to be donated, and it's focusing on tier 1 generators. So this is a picture of tier 1 generators, people who are food distributors, large grocery stores and supermarkets, service providers, and wholesale food vendors. So that's what's coming up next. Dennis, do I have time to pop over to YouTube and share that video? Oh, I think you're muted.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Working. I'm muting my microphone as opposed to my Zoom thing, so it's a little different today. But Mayor Klein, you mentioned. So yes, Bailey, why don't you do that? And in the meantime, okay. I wanted to ask the mayor a question. He mentioned about how that 18% reduction also involves billing for the city and also affects the rates because you get billed by weight and you're taking away all that water.
Absolutely. So, you know, that was one of the things that we really didn't think about as much when we were rolling out the program, but food is mainly water weight at the end of the day. So when we were pulling food out of what went to the landfill. And yeah, we definitely reduced the amount by 18% of what went to the landfill. We were actually reducing the weight of that food, that weight of that landfill material quite a bit. And so the amount that we were charged for what went to the landfill dropped. And in 2019, our garbage rates actually went down because of the FoodCycle program. That it was, it not just is it good for the environment, no methane gas and trying to keep food out of the landfill, but the positive effects of actually having a financial benefit to our residents, to me, only made it more positive for those naysayers in the community that said, well, not that many people will contribute or be part of that program. And it's like, no, changing your behavior, and that's always the thing. It's an educational effort to change people's behavior. If you change your behavior, you have positive impacts, not just on the environment, but on your pocketbook. And that was a good thing for our residents too.
Great. Yeah, that's a great talk about multi-benefits.
Yeah.
All right, I have the video ready if we want to watch it. It's a quick one.
How long?
Just over a minute.
Oh, we can do that.
Okay.
I food cycle because I don't like to waste anything, especially food.
I food cycle because food scraps can be turned into products like fertilizer and electricity.
We food cycle every week because it's the right thing to do. If we just put food scraps in trash, it goes to landfill. There it creates more greenhouse gases and create climate change. When we put all our food scraps in the FoodCycle cart every week, we can do great things for Sunnyvale. Will you join us?
All right.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We will have another video coming up on it's an Air District video about what to do during wildfires, and that's a short video as well. But anyway, thank you very much for two views of food, almost the before and after, and FoodCycle sounds like, yeah, a really exciting program, and frankly, yeah, it's about building habits. I can't imagine, like, how do you not have time to do food scraps? I mean, where are you going to put them? I mean, it's just kind of a silly idea, so hopefully that will become more and more ingrained. And actually, too, I'm hoping that you have other local cities that are doing this, that you get that number up as far as production runs. I mean, that would be quite interesting. And especially, too, in terms of the program savings, that aspect of an overall savings on landfill costs, that you think that would be a spur.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you very much for coming on. And Mayor Klein, we will continue to follow your epic quest to 300 food establishments. And I was just really taken with going through the list, and I said, there has to be retreats here. And nope, there wasn't. I checked twice. And it's just amazing, highlighting the, you know, the local food scene in Sunnyvale. I know firsthand that it's as varied as you can ever imagine. And, you know, years ago, even finding out about chicken tikka pizza and things like that, you know, that are just like, well, I guess it's probably not that exotic now. I mean, but it just seemed like such a crazy idea a few years ago.
Yeah, now we have, I think 4 or 5 different Indian pizza places within Sunnyvale. And so it's variety, and it's, you know, always coming up with new things. And I'm always happy to see a new store open, and people really love the variety at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
Yeah.
So yes, thanks for coming on, and we'll definitely keep an eye on both of these activities, actually, and I'm going to. We have a short thing coming up at 4 o'clock, but before then, Lisa is going to run the next Air District video, because unfortunately we have a very thirsty atmosphere these days, and the chances of you know, more wildfires are well, fair to even. So